Hello geeks. Welcome to Geeks for Geeks Python channel, and I welcome you all to this live session. So let me just check the audio once and check everything is fine. Geeks. Yes, so the audio is working fine. And the video is also fine. So we are good to go, I guess. We will wait for 1 minute, and after that we'll start with the session so that everyone can join, those who are waiting. Till then, we'll discuss what we are going to create, or what we are going to discuss in today's session. So the topic is, as you would have read from the thumbnail and the title, the discussion is based on command line apps or CLI apps. Okay. So in this session, we will see a very small example of what CLI apps are, and we will also try to create a Python program so that we are able to create the functionalities of CLI apps. Okay, and then we will the whole session is based on executing a small demo example of a CLI app. Okay, so we will start our session with the example of understanding what CLI apps are. We will see an example which developers use in their day-to-day lives, and then we will understand how we will create our example. Okay, so let's get started. I guess it's time for us to start the session. So first, what is CLI apps? Okay, so for that I'll give you a very small example, which is GitHub. If you would have used GitHub, then you would have used its client, right? If you know what GitHub is, it's very good. If you don't know, then just understand that it basically gives you an option to store and collaborate and work simultaneously. Multiple developers can simultaneously work on some piece of code. Okay, so it gives you that functionality. So if you would have seen the GitHub client, it basically looks like this black screen, right? So you download it for Windows, and then when you run the GitHub program, it basically is like a command line tool, right? So what you do is, as you can see in this example, you open the GitHub client and then you execute these commands, right? Like GHPR status. So PR status, then commands like GHPR checkout, as it's flashing over here, right? So you give these commands and it gives you some certain output, right? So you can, how GitHub works is you create repositories, and then when you create the repositories, which it is linked to your account or to your company's account or whatever, whoever has created or has permissions to create that repository, it gets binded to that. And then you kind of create replicas of that repository which contains code. Okay, and you create replicas for that and you work on them, okay, remotely. So this is what GitHub client does. So you can see that user can execute different commands. Like I have executed GitHub PR checks, so it gives all checks were successful, things like that. And then repo, let's say I execute gh repo view, so it gives CLI GitHub's official command line tool view. It basically makes you read the information about the repository. Okay, so these are different commands. There are other commands as well, but that is out of scope of this discussion. So what I wanted you to understand is this is basically a CLI app which you download and then you work on it, okay, by giving different commands. Okay, so what we will be going to create is, if you would have followed my previous examples, what we would like to create is, so in the last example we discussed what are command line arguments. Okay, now the command line arguments are basically when you take the inputs from the user, right, in your program. So that is the basic usage of command line argument. A command line app is basically an app which is executed from the terminal, or is basically a terminal in which you execute different commands. Okay, so what we are going to create is we will be going to create a zip code CLI app. Okay, we will be creating a zip code CLI app, and what it will do is basically it will take two parameters. One is the country and the other one is postal code or the zip code, and then the output will be uh, nearby places to that zip code, nearby places to that particular zip code, right? So this is what we are trying to build in this example. Okay, so I mean you can there is no limit to what you can create. So I will give you the basics so that you are able to create almost anything out of it if you apply the correct logic. But for the scope of the discussion and to explain everything, I have chosen this zip code CLI app as an example. Okay, and what it will do is country. It will ask two inputs: country, postal code, and then it shows the nearby places to that zip code. Okay. Okay, so this we have understood. Now, what do we need for this thing? Okay, for to create this app. Okay, let me just show you a very small piece which basically looks like if you would have seen something like this, you would have used CLI apps. Okay, so if I execute, yeah. So if you would have interacted with CLI apps, you would have seen something like this, right? It basically is something which contains lots of green and red text, right? Which is very good looking for terminals and stuff. So that's what you would have seen in most of the CLI apps. This is how their UI is like. So this is how these CLI apps look like, right? And then you after, so let's say this is the interface, and then after that you have the functionality part, right? So we will be doing stuff like this. Okay, this is like just an example to show you what CLI apps are. Okay, if you would have used GitHub, that is also good. You can relate to that. Okay, so now what we will require for this. Okay, so requirements are, so I have term color. Okay, and I have pi inquirer. Okay, and I also have pi figlet. So let's write it here only. I have pi figlet. Now these two libraries, so these are Python libraries. Okay, Python libraries. So these two will contribute towards the UI part. Okay, they will contribute more towards what we are displaying over here, right? So if you see this hello CLI app, it's printed in a different fashion, right? It is not something that you can execute with your normal print statements in Python, right? So these UI elements will be whatever the user sees, and basically this is to give the user a feel that okay, he's like a because it's a developer tool, right? Whatever you create as a CLI app, your normal users won't use that. It is basically intended for developers who are into programming, right? So a UI is basically to give them feel about that this product is developed from a developer's perspective, right? Not for normal I mean, it can be for normal users as well, but mostly CLI apps are used by developers, right? So these two, PyFiglet and term color, these two libraries will be used from the UI part, and then the logic to execute everything, or like asking country code and asking zip code and to give them as an option or to give them as an input will be handled by this PyInquirer library. So I'll write logic. Okay, so logic is handled by PyInquirer, and UI is handled by a combination of PyFiglet and term color. Okay, why a combination? Because there are some functionalities like color So if you see this example, which is if you see this text, which is hello CLI app, there are two components to it. One is how it has been created, right? And the second thing is the coloring part, right? So if I come back to my libraries, PyFiglet is basically what creates this, okay? Like the outlining of this text is handled by PyFiglet. But the coloring portion, if you see whether it is green or red or whatever color you want, that is handled by term color, right? So these two, combination of these two will give us the UI elements that we want, okay? And then we will handle the logic of the app using PyInquirer, right? So how PyInquirer works is basically it is a sequential, it gives you the ability uh, to make sequential CLI apps, okay? Now what do I mean by sequential CLI apps? I will just explain. Yeah, so let me go like this. Yeah, so I have PyInquirer, and I want so this gives me the ability to execute sequential not execute, create, okay? uh, let's create PyInquirer. Let's create sequential CLI, just a minute. Yeah, sequential CLI apps. Now, what are sequential CLI apps? So let's go back to our example of zip code, right? Zip code app, zip code CLI app, zip code CLI app. Now in the zip code CLI app, I am explaining you what are sequential CLI apps, okay? Because PyInquirer it gives you the ability to create sequential CLI apps, okay? And what are sequential CLI apps? So let's say you have zip code CLI app, you want country and you want the zip code, right? So first it will ask you what country, okay? And then it will ask you the zip code, okay? So this is then it will give you the option to view the results, okay? So this is the sequence, this is the order in which the app will run, okay? First it will ask you about the country information, then it will ask you about the zip code information, and then it will display you the results or the nearby places, right? So this is the sequence, okay? It can't be like first the app runs in this manner, okay? Because it's a sequential CL, it gives you the ability to create sequential CLI apps, okay? So if you I mean that is the meaning of sequential CLI apps, that everything is executed in an order, okay? And how do we execute this in an order? So you have a list of questions, okay? You have a list of questions, and so these questions would be, let's say, what is your country and what is your zip code, okay? And third can be results, right? And let's not go to results. So these two questions, and then there will be answers. Now answer is the options that the user chooses, or the answers is the input given by the user, okay? So let's say I have this country question, which asks basically which country you want, okay, to view the zip code for. So let's say the user chooses India or IN, okay? So the answer will have IN as the answer, okay? And then the app will ask the question with like which zip code you want, okay, or which zip code you want to search for. So let's say the user gives 110001, okay? So that will be also stored in the answers. Now how it gets stored and everything we will see once we execute, but that is basically the flow of PyInquirer or the sequential CLI apps, that you have some set of questions that you define, which will be uh, the questions with which user interacts and gives the answers to them. Okay, and these answers gets stored somewhere, and then we interact with these answers and form our logic. Okay, so that okay, if the answer is India and zip code is this much, then you want to search for that. Okay, or let's say it can be anything. You form the logic based on the answers given by the user. Okay, so that is how it is sequential, because in sequential questions are a list, right? So it will always start from first question, which is country. Then once the country answer is given, it will store it in the answer. Okay, that is India. Then it moves to the next question, which is what is zip code. Then it will take the input and then it will store it in the answers. Okay, so this is how sequential CLI apps are built. Okay, now it is not like sequential CLI apps are a different category of CLI apps. It is basically termed as a sequential CLI apps because everything happens in a sequence, right? If you form the sequence correctly, then you can just create anything out of it. Okay, even the GitHub's uh, uh, client app, which we just discussed over here, that can also be created with the help of this, but it obviously will take some time because there are lots and lots of logics involved in that, right? So we need to handle those logics correctly. But what I'm trying to uh, implement over here is, what I'm trying to discuss over here is, we will discuss in such a way that you will be able to understand everything. Okay, so with this discussion, let's get started with the code. So I open my editor, zoom in a bit, and let's start writing some code. Okay, so my first statement is from future import import my print function. Okay, my print function, comma, Unicode literals. Okay, okay, why do we need this future? This future is basically, so let's say your Python is let's say you execute this app with Python 2. Okay, but you will need some features which were introduced in Python 3. Okay, so it basically gives you those functionalities of future versions in your previous runtimes. Okay, so if I have, let's say, Python 3.5 and something was introduced in Python 3.6. Okay, so if I use this future command, I can import those future versions functionalities into my current version. Okay, so let's say if your Python version is 3.5, you can import something out of which was created in Python 3.6, right? So that is the purpose of future function. And what we have created, what we have imported the print function. Why? Because this print function can be executed as a function. Okay, so we will see that in the next when we execute that. Okay, so now the second is PyFiglet, which we discussed is an important library for creating structures, UI structures, right? So I'll import the Figlet class. Now I will import request because I want the information about zip code and the country code. So it's an API basically. So that is why I'm using the request. If you want more information about the API, you can just go to this URL, which is api.zippopotem.us. Okay, so it's a zip code API, and here is the documentation. These are the countries supported and their pin code supported. So every information is given to us. It's basically a URL, and if you hit that URL, you get the information about the nearby places related to that country and that zip code. Okay, so if let's say if I see the example for India, the API endpoint is api.zippopotem.us/India, which is the country, and then /110001, which can be the pin code, right? So this way you have to use this. This way you have to use this API. So for that I'm importing request. Okay, now we will import term color. Okay, so term color is is used in combination with PyFiglet to give the UI functionality, right, as we discussed. Okay, term color is imported. Now I will import one more special library, which is Colorama, and this is needed just if you are creating this app on Windows. Okay, because in Windows, for colors to reflect on the command lines, you need to import this. Okay, so colorama.initialize, I'm just calling this. This will just enable this app to display certain colors and uh, certain things on the command line. Okay, so now I'll create an object which is figlet, which we imported. I'll call the figlet object, and I will give the font equals font type as slant. Okay, so if you see the example, this font is basically in a slanting manner, right? So that is why the font type is slant. Okay, so font is chosen. Now I will give print statement. Okay, so inside the print I will use colored, which we have imported, COLORED. Okay, so colored is basically a function from the term color. Okay, so you will understand it. So inside the colored I will pass f dot render text, and inside render text I will pass whatever text you want to display over here. Okay, so here it is hello CLI app. In our example we will pass the text which is zip coder CLI. Okay, so yeah, CLI. Okay, and now after after render text, okay, after render text is closed, we will give another argument which is the color. So I will give green color. Okay, and so this is the argument for colored, and then I'll close the print function. Okay, so it is just rendering this text with green color using the render text function from PyFiglet, and colored from the term color. Okay, I hope you understood it. Okay, so let's use the CPrint function. CPrint function to display colored text on the command line, which is also a part of term color. Okay, because if you use normal print, it will just print it in white color, right? And you can't use any arguments. So if you see, I'm using this argument comma green, okay, with print function, which is not the case, right? So that is why we have used this line from future import print functions. Okay, in whatever higher versions, this print function was introduced that I've imported, right? So that I can give the color parameter as well in the print function. Okay, now my print is behaving like a function which can accept parameters, right? So for that functionality, I kind of use this line from future import print functions. Okay, now I'll use the CPrint function, which is again a part of term color, and I will give a text which is welcome to the command line usage of let's say I give zip coder. Okay, yeah, so this is the text. I will give let's say I give some color. Okay, so the next argument will be color. Now color is I will choose red. Okay, so CPrint will just print this line on the command terminal. Okay, and now it will not render it like this hello CLI app. It will not render it like this f.render text because it's just CPrint. Okay, now it will not be I mean its size won't be that much. Okay, so now I'll just print /n so that I have a new line. I mean I have a space after welcome to command line usage, right? Now I'll import the PyInquirer functionalities. Okay, so PyInquirer, PyInquirer. I want to import three things. Okay, import style from dict. Okay, import style from dict. I import token, and I import so style from dict and then token, and then I import the prompt thing. Okay, we will understand what are these things. Okay, so style is basically to style the properties as to how the app questions and stuff like that will look, right? So we will look at that one by one. So style is equals to, now I'll use this style from dict, style from dict. Okay, and it's a function, so yeah, it accepts a dictionary. Okay, okay, now what is the 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 components of this dictionary? So it is token dot question question mark. Okay, so these are just some properties. We will first define these properties, and then once we execute the app, we'll understand what each property is responsible for. Okay, so let's say I give 673AB7. Okay, this is some hex color, and I want it in bold. Okay, so I give bold. Now this is my first element. Now the second can be token dot, so this is like for a question mark. Second can be token dot selected. So don't worry about these properties, we'll understand once we execute. So I'll again choose a color for that. So CC 5454, let's say I choose this. Okay, these are just hex codes which we want. Okay, so now I choose token dot pointer. Okay, and I have to choose a color for that. So hash 673AB7. Okay, something like that. It's just a hex code, you can just find out what color it means. Okay, and token, there's last property which is token dot answer, and the color code for that would be hash F44 336. Okay, so this is my last thing, last property. It's defined. My styling is defined now. Okay, okay, so now this much is done. My styling is done and my welcome text is done. Okay, now let's form the questions which we discussed, right? So questions questions I will form. Now these questions, as we discussed, is a list, right? And inside this list, each dictionary item is a question. Okay, so let's give the first question. So it's a dictionary, so I'll create a dictionary. Okay, okay, so I give the first question type. So we will understand all these once we execute. So type is list. Okay, comma, the name of this question is let's say I give country underscore chosen. Okay, this is the name of the question. Okay, this is how we will search what question is basically what, right? Okay, so question country chosen, then I give the message part for that question. So the message is please choose the country. Okay, so this is my message, and then the last part is the choices parameter. Okay, the choices parameter is a list. Okay, CHOICES, choices, and in this I will pass the choices of countries. Okay, so one is US, and let's say second one I take is India. Okay, so out of these US and India, these choices will be presented to the user. Okay, so these are the country choices. Okay, so first question is done. We will again understand these questions in depth. Okay, once we create everything. Now I'll create the second question, which is zip code, right? Now I want the zip code. Okay, so inside this I will go and create the type of this question. This is my second question, right? So that is why I have created a new dictionary for that, right? So now this the type for this question is input. So if you see, the type of first question was a list. Okay, now the type for this question is input, because I want the user to enter the input, right? I want an input type, right? So now I'll give the name, the question name. The question name can be pin_code, right? And the third parameter for this question can be message, and then I will give what slash what's your pin code. Okay, so this is the message. Okay, so now this is done. Now my second question is also done. The first question is a type of list. So out of this list is basically US and India. Out of these two, it will say that please choose this country. Okay, and it will get saved with this name, which is country chosen. Okay, in the answers. So we will see that once. Okay, so now my second question is done, and now the third question is so I need a dictionary for that. So this is my dictionary, and let's close my dictionary. Yeah, so now this third question is again of type. Okay, so now type is again list, in which I'm just giving two options to the user, whether to view the results or to quit and start the process again. Okay, so I'll give the name as confirmation. Okay, and I'll give the message as choose. Okay, so I'll give choose, and the message is done. Now I want to give the choices, because it's a list type question, right? So I want to give the choices. Now inside this choices, what I will do is I will create a list. Okay, and inside this list again I will give a dictionary. Okay, I'll give two dictionaries. So one dictionary is basically one choice, and second dictionary is again another choice. So one dictionary and then second dictionary. So inside this dictionary, what I'll do is okay, so inside this dictionary I'll give key as name. So these are the choices which the user will get, right? So I want to give the choices as view results. So after user has given the input for zip code and he has chosen the country, I'm just giving the choice to choose that whether you want to view the results or you want to quit and choose again. Okay, so for that I give this, and I give one more parameter, which is disable false. Okay, so that it's not auto selected. Okay, it's not the default choice. So this is my first choice, right? Now I'll give the second choice. So for second choice, I am giving name as quit and choose again. Okay, so this is my second choice, and again for that I'm giving a disable parameter so that nothing is chosen by default. Disable parameter as false. Okay, Okay, so this looks good. Now, so here closes uh, my first dictionary. This is my first dictionary. This is my second dictionary, which is given as a choice. Here closes my choice list. This closes my third question dictionary, and this closes my list of questions, right? Okay, so my questions are defined now. Okay, now what I need is my questions are formed. Let's just do one simple thing. So I give answers equals, because I want the answers, equals prompt. So this is the prompt function, and I pass inside this questions. Okay, so questions, comma, and the style I pass in as uh, style. Okay, because I want to apply those style. Okay, now I'll just print the answers. Print answers. Okay, let's save this much. So what we have done, we created some style in the starting. We created the normal UI thing with the print statement and the bolded render text, and then after that we have defined the questions. First question is country chosen. The choices are US and India. Second question is input type, where the user will enter the input, and third question type is a list, which will basically give two options, whether to view results or to quit and choose again. Okay, and they have some names and they have some messages associated with that. Now let's just execute this thing. So I will execute py, and name of the file is cmd underscore app, cmd underscore app dot py. So I execute this. Okay, okay, so it is giving me invalid syntax. Disable is false. Okay, so I have maybe missed a comma. Disable is false. Okay, so here starts my first dictionary choice, right? And then my second dictionary choice, and then my list gets closed. Okay, so this dictionary is also closed. Okay, and then after that, okay, I don't see any specific error in this. Let's try once more. Okay, so it's giving me invalid syntax. Let's check our code once again. So this is my questions list, okay, which ends here, right? Inside the questions list, I have three dictionaries. One is closing over here. This is fine. Second is closing over here. This is again fine. Third one starts here, ends here. Okay. So now I have this and I have this. Okay. Let's give a comma over here. Maybe that's why they're not. Let's save it once again. Okay, so I have missed a comma over here. Okay, after this name, quit and choose again, there should be a comma, right? There's no need for comma over here, and there's no need for comma over here. Okay, okay, so what I missed was I missed a comma over here. It was like this. So after this name key, I have this disable key, right? So I need a comma. Okay, let's run it once again. Okay, so now it runs. As you can see, it runs and renders this zipcoder.cli text, which we passed in to this print function. Okay, and then it prints welcome to command line usage of zip coder, which is displayed in red color. Now it is giving me this question, which is please choose your country, as we have given in the first question, which is list, a type of list, and choices are US and India. Okay, so it is giving me to choose. I can use the arrow key to choose between these two options. So let's say I choose India. Now it is asking me the second question, which is what's your pin code. Okay, so this is my second question. What's your pin code? Let's give 110001. Okay. Okay, so now it is asking me choose, which is the third question. Okay, of list type, and the choices are view results or quit and choose again. Okay, so it is giving me to choose from view results and quit and choose again. So I'll give view results, and then what it is doing, it has formed the answers and I have printed the answers. Okay, so what is the answers? It is a dictionary. Whatever I enter or choose, so in the first step I chose country as India, right? So inside my answers dictionary, country chosen is India. How this country chosen key is coming? Country chosen key is coming because I have defined the question name as country chosen, right? For second question, the name is pin code. So there will be a dictionary answers. Inside that there will be a key called pin code, and the response which I gave to that question will be stored as the answer for that particular key. The third key is confirmation in the answers. So why confirmation? Because the third question has the name confirmation. So for confirmation question, the response is view results. So out of view results, or I give two choices, right? For confirmation, which is view results and quit and choose again. So it is choose. It has stored view results because I gave view results. Okay. So that is how my answers are getting created. Okay. Now what I am missing over here is I am missing to call the API. Okay. So let's define our API using request. Now this API will, what the API will do? The API will fetch the details, okay, for that zip code. So let's name it get nearby options. Okay, get nearby options, and I need to pass answers to this. Okay, this function will take the parameter as answers, because inside the answers only I have the country and the pin code, which I will need to call the API. Okay, so that's why I've passed in answers. Now what will be the content of this? So I will just create a simple request with URL with parameters equals I'll give the HTTP URL, which is HTTP, and then I'll just copy whatever is given in the documentation. So for India it is the base URL is API. So the base URL is api.zipopotam.us. It is same for everyone. Okay, slash is also common, so I'll copy this much. So here I will paste it, API. Okay, so this much is pasted. Now I will add what I will add. I need so if you see the base URL, it contains after slash it needs the country and then slash followed by pin code. So I will give answers of, and what is the key? Country chosen, right? So I will copy this and inside this country chosen. Okay. Now what I'll do is I'll add slash to it, and then I'll add answers of. Now how do I get the pin code? Answers of pin code, pin underscore code, right? That's how I've defined. So pin underscore code. Okay, so this is my URL which I need to hit. Okay, some part of it I got it from answers, some part was base because it's fixed for everything. Okay. Okay, so I will now give response equals request dot get. I am placing a get request, and inside this I am passing URL with parameters. Okay, so response is done. Now I will convert this response to a JSON object. Okay, so response, let's create a new object, response1 equals response, and I'll call .json, so that I have JSON object. Okay, now this much is done. Now inside this I'll just print the response. Okay, response1. Okay, so this is my function, right, which basically calls the URL and prints the response. Okay, now I've got the answers. Okay, so now I'll form the logic. Okay, so I have got, now instead of just printing the answers, I want the result of the URL, right? I want the response result. So I have to form some logic now. So I will give if answers of confirmation. So if you see, confirmation is a key, right, in answers, and it stores the choice, which is view result or quit and choose again, right? It has these two choices, which is view results or quit and choose again. So if the user chooses, if answer of confirmation is view results, okay, so if he wants to view, he wants to view the results, then I'll call get nearby. Get nearby, what is the function name I've defined? Get nearby options. Get nearby options, I'll call this with, and I'll pass the answers, so that my get nearby function can access this and create the URL with parameters. Okay, so this is done. If this is done, if this is the case, okay, and elif answers of, again, the confirmation, because at the confirmation point is where the user is deciding whether I want to view results or quit from here. Okay, is equals to the second choice, which is quit and choose again. So if it's like this, then just print that please choose country again and re-enter your zip code. Okay, so let's save this much and run it once. Run it once again. So instead of printing answers, we have written this logic over here, right? So if the last part's choice is view results, then call this function, which is get nearby result, get nearby options. So if you call this get nearby options, it will automatically print the response, right, based on the choices. And if it's quit and choose again, which is the second choice, then just print that please choose the country again, re-enter, right? So let's run once again. So again, I will choose the country. So you can choose via the arrow key. So I'll choose India. I'll give zip code as 110001. Okay, so now it is asking me to choose from view results and quit and choose again. So I'll choose view results, and it prints me this response, right? Why? Because I chose, because my answers of confirmation was view results, right? So it checks your answers, confirmation key will be view results, and then it will call get nearby options with the answers, and get nearby functions will print this response. It will create the URL, hit that URL, create a JSON out of it, and then it will print that response, right? So that is the first case. Now the second case can be if I choose the other thing. So if I print execute the app once again, press India, what's your zip code, 110001, I give this, and if I choose quit and choose again, which is the second option, right, quit and choose again, so it stops and says print please choose country again and re-enter your zip code, right? Okay, so it is doing correctly. Now there is one more functionality which we want. If you see, I execute the app, it asks me the country, pin code, and the choice whether to print or whether to view my results or to quit from here. And then it terminates. Okay, and then it terminates. So I don't want my app to terminate, right? After I have used the app functionalities once, it should again prompt me back to the starting point, right? Which is please choose the country again. So what I'll do for that is I don't want my app to terminate unless and until I terminate it, right? So for that, it's very simple. After so what we will do is we will copy all this and we'll put it inside a while loop. Okay, so while because I don't want my app to just terminate after once, right? Otherwise, what's the use of quit and choose again, right? If the user quits and chooses again, he has to go back. He should be presented with this please choose your country again question, right? Not terminate from there. So I will put everything inside while loop. Okay, there's some indentation thing. I will fix that. Now everything is inside while loop, right? So answers, so questions will remain same, right? That's why we say that it's a sequential app. Questions are same. It will evaluate the answers based on what you enter every time by interacting with the app, right? And then it will check whether if you've chosen to view results or if you have chosen to quit and choose again. And based on that, it will keep iterating this again and again and again, right? So that we after if the user selects quit and choose again, or let's say he has made any error in choosing the country or choosing the zip code, then he can again go back and choose those stuffs, right? The app should not terminate from there. So let's run our app once again. So yeah, now it is saying please choose your country. I choose my country India. I give pin code 110001. Okay, and I press enter, and I want to view the results. I view the results. Okay, so it has printed me this result, right? Now it has not terminated, which I want, right? Again, it is asking the same question. It again went back to the starting point, which is please again choose your country. So again, I'll choose a country so that just to see whether the results are different every time or not, I will give a different pin code, which is 110002. Okay. And again, it gives me the option to view result. And this time I get the results for postcode 110002. Earlier it was for 110001, right? Let's choose the third functionality. Again, let's say I choose India, which I give my pin code, but I missed one. Right? I gave a 5-digit pin code for India, which is incorrect. So again, it gives you the option view results, quit and choose. So let's say I quit because I haven't entered the correct pin, right? So I quit and choose. So it is saying please choose your country again and re-enter your zip code. So again, I get the functionality to interact with the app. So I will just choose India again, and I'll recorrect my pin code, which is 1100, let's say 3 I'll choose, and I give view results, and now it shows me the results for pin code 110003. Okay, and now we will discuss the styling parameters which we missed in the starting. So this is the style parameter. The first dictionary element is question mark. Okay, so if you see this question mark next to the question, okay, so this color of this question mark is styled by this parameter, which is question mark. Then the second one is selected. So whatever is selected, so out of US and India, US is selected, so that's why the color of US is defined by this hex code. Okay, then you have the pointer. Okay, so the pointer is basically, okay, so the question mark is this question and the pointer is I mean it's one of them. Okay, so yeah, so this is the pointer, and this is the question mark. So if the pointer also moves if you choose if you interselect between choices, right? If I go to India, this pointer is coming down to India, right? And if I go to, again to US, this pointer is moving with my choices. So the color of this pointer is defined by pointer. And then once you select India, let's say, next to this question there is one question mark, right? So that question mark's color is defined by this question mark this question mark key. Selected is whatever we saw, US and whatever India, right? Now the last one is answers color. Okay, so whatever answer I gave, the color of that should be this hex code. Okay, so answer is like if I give the answer over here as 110001. So the this answer is appearing in 110001, right? This is appearing in red color. So this red color is defined by the token.answers color. Okay. Okay. So we started from creating the simple UI part. We styled it. Then we also created the questions, which will be the body of the app, or how the logic will flow. And then we formed the end logic, which is if this is this, then choose this. If this is this, then choose this. Okay, that's how we created this simple command line interface, right? And it will enable the users to query the nearby places, right? You give the country, you give the pin code, and then you can view the results, right? Okay, so this was like a very basic example of command line interfaces using PyInquirer, term color, and PyFiglet, right? I hope you learned something out of this session. Do check this API, which is api.zippo.m.us. If you can't see the URL, I'll just zoom in a bit. So it is api.zippo.tam.us. Okay, I'll just post it as a comment after the session ends. Okay, so we discussed how what are sequential CLI apps, what are CLI apps. We also saw example of GitHub. We also created this from scratch, and so that is how basically you create CLI apps in Python, right? There's no limit to what you can create with this. So just get your hands on and start building whatever you can create out of this. It's always good to get your hands on and start coding, right? Whenever you do that, you will always figure out the shortcomings and the errors, and you will learn a lot in the process. You will search something and you'll get results that will help you in learning process, right? So I highly recommend that you go through this session and you understand, and then you try to make changes in this code and just try to see how it is impacting the flow of the app, right? And see what else, if you can create something creative out of it, if you can create something good out of it, you can create some custom app out of it which can be used by developers. That will be a great example. Post your code as a comment, and post the links of your GitHub repos if you have created something out of it. I'll be glad to check some of them. Okay, so that's it for today's session. I'll see you in the next one very soon, and keep learning and keep exploring. Share this video with your friends and college friends and colleagues, and whoever is working with you, and see if they are learning Python. I'm pretty sure that I'm pretty hopeful that this will be useful for them, right, in the learning process. So share it with your friends, and just keep exploring, keep learning. I'll see you next time very soon. Until then, take care and stay safe. Bye.